An experimental machine that recognizes the human voice was introduced to the press.
Scooters from Segway Discovery.
Handwriting recognition. Scribble a word and see.
Ever wonder why some of the most creative products never stood a chance? From bizarre gadgets to next big things that flopped overnight, innovation doesn't always guarantee success. Which brilliant ideas went down in flames, and why do we still remember them? Stick around as we uncover 50 innovative products that have failed miserably. In the early 60s, before portable music players, companies experimented with record players designed to go anywhere. Think vinyl on the move. The Emerson Wondergram was one such device, marketed as the
45 RPM adapter. It was missing the adapter, so I designed one and printed it. The battery compartment. Right here.
World's smallest record player. The trouble was, vinyl is fragile. One bump, and it would get skips or scratches. You needed a perfectly flat, stable surface to play it properly. Good luck finding that on a bus or in a park. The dream of mobile vinyl quickly faded, especially with the rise of cassette tapes and, later, Walkman-style players. Picture a little black box with a switch. Flip it on, and a mechanical hand comes out just to switch itself off. That's it. Invented in the 1960s by Captain Coney under the name Little Black Box, or Monster Inside the Black Box, it had no real function other than making you smile or scratch your head. Sold as a quirky novelty toy, it was fun once or twice, but made zero sense as anything useful. It became more of a gag gift than a gadget. What if you found out that there was a whole other piece of arcade-style tech that had us dancing for hours? Let's find out. Stepping onto that flashing pad felt like entering another dimension. Each arrow lit up in sync with pounding beats, and your heart raced as you matched step to step.
Dance Dance Revolution, the hit Japanese dancing game. Bring the arcade experience to life in your own home with the Dance Dance Revolution dance pads.
When Dance Dance Revolution first hit arcades, players lined up for their turn, ready to prove they had lightning-fast feet. Sweaty palms gripped the rail as neon arrows guided your every move. The more accurate you were, the higher your combo score climbed. It wasn't just a game, it was a social ritual. Friends shouting encouragement, crowds gathering to watch epic fails, and the thrill of nailing a perfect run. Though home consoles later brought DDR pads into living rooms, nothing quite matched the adrenaline of the arcade's thunderous speakers. Even now, a select group of die-hard fans keeps the competitive spirit alive at tournaments. Ever heard of the shower hood? In the mid-1960s, someone thought, what if you could take a shower without messing up your hair? So they built this giant plastic dome hooked to a vacuum system.
Reversible. You won't have to waste time cleaning this because every time you shower, you flip it inside out and the shower cleans it for you. Best of all, you can have all this for the low price.
It sounded clever. Keep your style dry while showering. But the actual experience? Awkward and clunky. It looked like a space helmet and felt like one too. No one wanted to stand under that every morning. People preferred the simplicity of a shower cap. The device never caught on and disappeared into the annals of weird 60s inventions. In the heyday of the aughts, nothing said cool like grabbing a bottle of Sobe, a vibrant concoction of teas, juices, and flavored waters, all sporting that iconic lizard logo. Bright hues glowed behind glass bottles promising exotic flavors that tasted like sunshine in a sip. Convenience store fridges were stocked floor to ceiling, and whenever you cracked the cap, the fruity aroma felt like a mini vacation.
It's pretty damn delicious. Usually I get strawberry first, but I got a nice whiff of banana before I actually had the aftertaste of strawberry, so it's pretty...
But when PepsiCo switched to plastic packaging in 2007, a key piece of Sobe's charm slipped away. Sales dipped, and eventually, the brand vanished from many shelves. These days, hunting down an authentic glass-bottled Sobe feels like a scavenger hunt. Nostalgia in liquid form, if you can find it at all. Yes, this was a real thing. In cramped city apartments, parents strapped their babies into wire cages hanging outside windows to get fresh air. Sounds horrifying, right? It promised sunshine and ventilation, but quickly became notorious. Safety concerns were huge.
All this high life, it could go to a girl's head. It's Daddy, yes, they respect him, even if they do sometimes look down on him.
Babies dangling outside high-rise windows? No thanks. Public opinion shut it down fast, and rightfully so. What might have seemed futuristic turned out to be downright reckless. AOL Instant Messenger, or AM, was launched in 1997, but exploded in popularity during the early 2000s. With its distinctive soundbite, "You've got mail," each login sparked excitement.
You've got mail. You've got pictures.
Creating a sleek username, that perfect mix of cool and cryptic, felt like crafting an online persona. Friends hovered over typing indicators, anxiously waiting for responses that would light up the screen. Away messages evolved into mini blogs, revealing moods with quotes, song lyrics, or mysterious teases. File transfers shared pixelated GIFs and embarrassing selfies. Chat rooms buzzed with inside jokes, planning weekend meetups long before social media created event pages. Yet, as smartphones and social networks rose, AIM's servers grew quiet. By 2017, the service shut down, leaving generations nostalgic for its simple, real-time magic. Now, its legacy lives on in every blue-checked chat bubble you see today. Alright, imagine this. It's 1964, and a man named Klaus Scholz comes up with a genius idea. A robot that answers phone calls for you. Sounds cool, right? Except it didn't really do anything. When the phone rang, this little machine would reach out, lift the receiver, and then just sit there. No hello, no message, no beep, just complete awkward silence.
Will you please leave a message and I'll call you back. Go ahead. And proceeds to make his call in perfect confidence that business will be cared for during his absence.
The poor caller on the other end had no clue what was going on. People thought it was creepy rather than helpful, like talking to a ghost who didn't feel like chatting. The worst part? It didn't record anything, didn't take notes, didn't pass along a message. It just stared into the void and wasted time. Not surprisingly, folks quickly tossed it aside when real answering machines came out. The kind that actually spoke, beeped, and let people leave messages. In the end, this silent robot became a short-lived tech fail no one really missed. The turn of the millennium saw a high-fidelity duel, DVD audio versus SACD. Audiophiles envisioned crystal-clear soundtracks that surpassed CDs with richer bass, wider sound stages, and immersive surround mixes. Early reviews praised both formats, but casual listeners barely noticed the difference. Specialty players were expensive, and music libraries remained stubbornly on standard CDs or moving to MP3s and online music stores.
On the DVD audio, they had to transfer it to DSD to produce the SACD. Do they sound any different? I haven't really given it a proper shootout.
Retailers stocked a few titles, but without mass adoption, record labels lost interest. Today, SACDs and DVD audio discs still trickle out for devoted collectors. Still, the format war ended in a draw. Neither format claimed mainstream victory, and most of us stream or download high-resolution files instead. Okay, get this. Back in 1962, someone actually thought it was a good idea to build a rifle that could fire a mini nuclear bomb. Yes, seriously. It was called the M65 Recoilless Nuclear Rifle, and it could shoot a 51-pound atomic warhead nearly 3 miles away. Sounds like something straight out of a bad sci-fi movie, right? The idea was that soldiers could use it on the battlefield like a giant bazooka.
If there were a military failed inventions hall of fame, there would surely be a place of honor for the nuclear rifle.
Except they forgot one small thing. Radiation doesn't care who fired the bomb. The blast might take out the enemy, but it could also roast the team that pulled the trigger. They even tested this thing in front of Robert Kennedy, but after realizing just how insane and impractical it really was, the military quickly buried the idea. No surprise there. It's now remembered as one of the most dangerous, unnecessary, and completely over-the-top weapon flops in history. It was definitely not a proud moment in military innovation. When Apple unveiled the G4 Cube in 2000, jaws dropped at its elegant minimalist design, a 7.7-inch transparent acrylic cube that floated on its base. Inside, a PowerPC G4 processor delivered desktop-class performance.
Combining the power of the Power Mac G4, the awesome power of this machine.
But that beauty came with a hefty price tag and some quirky limitations. No room for standard expansion cards and a reliance on external devices for upgrades. Sales never matched Apple's hopes, and production ended roughly a year later. Though it remains an icon of industrial design, the Cube's impracticalities made it more of a museum piece than a mainstream computer. Today, it's a collector's dream. Proof that groundbreaking form sometimes outshines everyday function. This solid-state, bubble memory system was dreamed up at Bell Labs in the late 1960s. It stored bits as magnetic bubbles on thin film. At the time, it seemed like the future, non-volatile, radio-proof, and durable.
So given that the keyboard is not working, probably the first thing to do is to pull the keyboard and have a look at it.
But mainstream hard disks and semiconductor RAM got cheaper, faster, and more practical. Bubble memory was slow and expensive. It faded away before the 1980s. It was a beautiful concept, but eclipsed by better tech. MySpace was the digital playground of the mid-2000s, where everyone crafted profile pages adorned with glitter GIFs, auto-playing music, and custom HTML themes. Curating your top 8 friends became a social minefield. One slight misstep could cost your place in someone's inner circle. Profiles loaded slowly, thanks to over-the-top decorations and code clutter, but we didn't mind. We felt like online rock stars. Musicians discovered global audiences, while users vied to outdo each other with flashiest pages. Yet, as Facebook's cleaner interface and real-name policies took hold, MySpace's chaos became its downfall. By the early 2010s, its user base had plummeted, and the site refocused on music alone.
Old enough to remember MySpace, then you know just how much music was uploaded to the social site over the years. But I gotta tell you, at least 12 years of that music is now lost for good.
Still, for many, those neon-soaked profiles represent a precious slice of internet history. Back in the 1960s, some inventors had wild dreams of making tanks and cars that could actually fly. Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi comic book, right? Well, they gave it a shot, building strange-looking flying cars that were supposed to soar through the sky. But here's the thing, these machines were ridiculously heavy, nearly impossible to control, and just not built for takeoff. To get them off the ground, they needed massive tow planes or imaginary hover systems that didn't even exist yet. In theory, they were cool. In reality, a total mess. Most never made it past the prototype stage. They looked awesome in pictures, sleek, shiny, and bold, but once people tried to make them work, it was clear they were just too crazy to be practical. These flying car ideas ended up as nothing more than fun what-if experiments that never really got off the ground, literally. Imagine fitting a half gigabyte of data onto a disk no larger than a quarter. That was the promise of DataPlay when it made a splash at CES in January 2001, grabbing the Best of Show award. Tiny and sleek, these discs held up to 500 MB, enough for photos, music, or crucial documents. iRiver teased a dedicated player design, fueling excitement.
With corporate pressure to move to tapeless workflows and reduce storage costs, Sony's Optical Disc Archive solution lineup is an excellent choice to protect your content now and in the future.
Yet, despite demo units and press headlines, neither the device nor the discs reached retail. High production costs, complex licensing, and the rapid rise of flash media doomed the format. Consumers gravitated toward CDRs and USB drives offering proven reliability and bigger file sizes. By late 2001, DataPlay quietly vanished, known today only in tech archives. Its fleeting triumph reminds us how prototypes don't always translate to shelf success. All right, imagine you're on a packed 1960s train, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, and you want to read your newspaper. Enter one of the strangest inventions of the decade. Glasses with tiny mirrors built into them, angled just right so you could read something above your head without having to tilt your neck or move your arms. Sounds kind of genius, right? At least on paper. But once you actually put them on, yikes.
Okay to do over-the-counter reading glasses, but prescription glasses are usually way better. Now, speaking of prescription computer glasses or reading glasses,
The frame was bulky and uncomfortable, the mirrors fogged up constantly, and trying to read through them made you feel like you were in a funhouse. The angles were confusing, the text looked warped, and half the time you ended up with a headache before finishing the headlines. So, yeah, while it gets points for creativity, practicality just wasn't in the cards. Most people tried it once, chuckled a little, then stuffed it in a drawer, never to be seen again. In 2002, the Segway rolled out with a promise to revolutionize city streets. Its two self-balancing wheels, gyroscopic sensors, and silent electric motor looked like the future of personal transport.
Segway says it'll stop producing its iconic PT scooter beginning in July. Factories will be halting production July the 15th, and more than 20 people at its New Hampshire plant will be let go.
Early demos featured business executives gliding through airports and cruise ships, backed by hefty price tags and celebrity endorsements. Jeff Bezos hailed it as one of the most anticipated product launches ever, but reality diverged from the dream. High cost, regulatory hurdles, and crowded sidewalks made Segways impractical for everyday commuters. They never became a mainstream commuting staple or urban game changer.
Might be devastated with this next story. Segway's got to be the thing of the past, you know? The company that makes them says production will stop.
Despite loyal fan communities and a pivot to industrial uses, the Segway remains a niche novelty rather than the mobility revolution it once promised to be. Have you ever sat down to eat breakfast and thought, you know what this egg needs? A sharp corner. Yeah, probably not. But back in the 1960s, someone actually decided that round eggs were just too ordinary. So they came up with the egg cuber, a strange little plastic gadget that squeezed hard-boiled eggs into perfect cube shapes. That's right, square eggs. At first glance, it was kind of funny. People brought them out at brunch just for laughs. Picture the confused looks on everyone's faces as these boxy eggs showed up on their plates. It was more of a party trick than an actual kitchen tool.
Actually, these square eggs were laid by plain everyday chickens. It is a new invention called QB that reshapes old-fashioned egg-shaped eggs into the newfangled 8-cornered blocks.
And beyond making your food look like it came from a geometry class, it really didn't do anything useful. After the novelty wore off, and let's be honest, that didn't take long, the egg cuber quietly disappeared. Just another example of a weird idea from the 60s that never really cracked it. In early 2003, Microsoft unveiled Smart Display, codename Mira, as a wireless monitor that transformed into a tablet tethered to your PC. Slender and glossy, it felt like a glimpse into tomorrow. Scroll through documents from the couch, check email from the kitchen, or pilot PowerPoint from a meeting room.
We see a tablet that represents a unique vision for the seamless expression of entertainment and creativity.
But the era's slow 802.11b connections turned quick detours into laggy waiting rooms. Battery life lagged behind, performance hiccups sprang up under heavy use, and the collar clip docking station added more desk clutter than convenience. By December 2003, negligible sales convinced Microsoft to pull the plug. Its concept resurfaced years later in modern tablets and thin clients, but the original Mira remains a footnote, a reminder that timing and infrastructure can make or break innovation. Imagine a world where video calling existed in 1964. AT&T did it. They debuted the picture phone at the 1964 World's Fair in Queens, New York. You could see the person you were talking to, but the tech was way ahead of its time. It was low resolution, super slow, and cost a whopping $16 to $27 per minute just to talk, and that didn't include building the hardware or setting it up.
Then dial your number just as with an obsolete old 55 model phone, and when your party answers, There he is, almost as big as life on the 10-inch video screen.
Businesses and regular folks found it prohibitively expensive and awkward. People simply preferred good old voice calls. By the time commercial offers rolled out in a few cities like Chicago and New York, nobody cared. The dream of bringing faces to phone calls faded fast. So much so that video calling wasn't popular again until we had the internet decades later. Burning a mixed CD was an art form and a rite of passage in the 2000s. Blank discs stacked by the dozen, ready to capture the perfect sequence of hits, deep cuts, and hidden gems.
LightScribe used existing optical drive technology to burn monochrome images onto the label side of optical media, either CDs or DVDs.
Every crackle of the drive and flicker of the progress bar built anticipation. Crafting a playlist for your crush or best friend felt intimate and bespoke, a gift encoded in layers of plastic. Yet glitches lurked. Burn error messages after painstaking waits, wasted discs strewn in recycling bins, and unbalanced audio that rattled speakers. The rise of file-sharing networks and later streaming playlists rendered physical mixes obsolete. While nostalgia lingers, the tactile patience of burning, labeling, and packaging music has vanished, stored today in cloud folders and gathering dust on forgotten CD racks. In an era obsessed with shortcuts, vibrating exercise belts arrived as miraculous waist whittlers that buzzed away fat with zero effort. Users strapped on these motorized bands, settled into armchairs clutching magazines, and awaited inches to vanish, only to find nothing but mild irritation, bruised skin, and a bruised ego.
Fit appropriate. Oof. I'm really having a time of my life. Can you leave? Okay, you want to try it? Yeah.
Behind the flashy ads lie a simple truth. Vibration can't burn calories or break down fat cells. As disappointment mounted, manufacturers quietly shifted to new fitness gimmicks. Yet the vibrating belt set a blueprint for every overhyped health fad since. Modern detox teas and AI-powered workout apps trace their roots here, yet none have managed to deliver on that daydream of effortless transformation. Launched in 2003, HD Radio aimed to upgrade the airwaves with crystal-clear broadcasts and bonus channels, all without subscription fees.
It's very small. It's going to allow you to finally tune into those HD radio stations in your home and get that crystal clear digital radio.
Listeners could tune into CD-quality audio on compatible receivers, as well as access traffic alerts, song metadata, and local subchannels. But adoption stalled as chipmakers grappled with manufacturing costs and radio brands overlooked consumer education. Dashboards and home stereos rarely featured HD modules, while broadcasters hesitated to upgrade costly transmitters. Even in 2025, a handful of models, such as Sony's XDR F1 HD and budget insignia units, hint at renewed interest, yet many drivers remain blissfully unaware. As streaming services dominate, HD radio's promise of free digital clarity remains a faint whisper on crowded dials. In the mid-1960s, farm fresh milk bottles made morning appearances in sturdy wooden crates delivered right to front porches. Though designed for repeated use, moisture seeped into the slats, causing rot and warped panels that let heavy glass bottles slip through. Clattering crashes left glass shards across lawns, transforming quaint doorsteps into obstacle courses. Milkmen navigated piles of soggy wood.
A few 1-gallon milk bottles, you can see here. They come in
slowing routes and racking up maintenance costs for dairies. By decade's end, cardboard cartons and lightweight plastic carriers took over, slashing breakage rates and streamlining delivery. Today, vintage wood crates survive only as rustic decor or impromptu garden planters, a reminder that durability must go hand in hand with user-friendly design and safety. In October 2001, Apple unveiled the iPod,
Today is National iPod Day. The original iPod was unveiled by Steve Jobs and Apple on this day back in 2001. Can you remember it, Gil?
A sleek white rectangle that promised hundreds of songs in your pocket.
Now, the most important of these devices are, of course, the digital camera, the digital camcorder, the DVD player, and portable digital music players.
Overnight, it reshaped how music was consumed, transforming tangled CD collections into a digital jukebox that could be carried everywhere. Its click wheel became a tactile icon, offering a satisfying spin with each song selection. Battery life felt like magic, running for days, whereas CD players would die within hours. Even without a touchscreen or internet browser, its simple interface made music discovery feel effortless. Crowds swelled at launch events, and suddenly everyone, students, commuters, runners, was on a mission to fill their iPod.
iPod has been a giant hit for us. We've got the 5 gigabyte iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. With iPod, we struck a middle path.
It was more than a gadget. It was a cultural stamp. Yet, for all its triumph, Apple's next challenge was already looming on the horizon. Swinging 60s marketing hailed polyester pantsuits as the ultimate low-maintenance wardrobe heroes. Promising wrinkle-free days from boardroom to nightclub, these shiny synthetics initially dazzled shoppers. But the reality was a personal sauna. Fibers trapped heat, clung to odors, and caused relentless perspiration. Wearers endured chafing seams and chemical-like smells that no amount of detergent or home ironing could tame.
And the decorative pocket flaps, which was another characteristics, especially of leisure suits of that period. One of the things that I
Cleaning challenges emerged as harsh soaps stripped finishes and fabric stiffened after each wash. By the early 70s, cotton, wool, and linen reclaimed popularity, proving that breathability and comfort outweigh convenience claims. Even today, eco-minded designers revisit natural fibers, citing polyester's legacy to champion materials that respect human biology. In 2004, Motorola captured imaginations with the Razr V3, a flip phone so slender that it felt more like an accessory than a gadget. It's an anodized aluminum shell glinted in every color, from classic silver to daring hot pink, making it the must-have fashion statement of the era.
Brand new Motorola Razr V3. The super thin flip phone that's getting a lot of hype.
Underneath the stylish exterior lay a surprising feature set. A VGA front display for caller ID, a 720 mAh battery that outlasted many clunkier rivals, and Bluetooth connectivity for hands-free calls. Yet its ultra-thin design came at a cost. The keypad membrane was flimsy, leading to sticky keys and cracked screens. Cloning concerns and limited storage also tested patience. When Motorola revived the Razr name in 2020, as a foldable smartphone, critics lamented its hefty price and middling specs. Still, the original Razr remains a defining icon of the 2000s. Once the undisputed champions of accounting desks, adding machines of the 1960s were marvels of mechanical engineering. These hulking devices, weighing anywhere from 5 to 20 pounds, featured rows of clackety typewriter-style keys and whirring internal gears that snapped into action with every calculation. Their satisfying clicks and casual ribbon prints made balancing ledgers feel almost ceremonious, especially for espresso-fueled accountants. But by the early 1970s, compact electronic calculators appeared, lighter, faster, and more affordable, signaling the end of the adding machine's reign.
100 classroom computing system is being used by many schools with remarkable results in subject matter comprehension and reasoning skills.
Office floors, once lined with their bulky frames, emptied out as businesses embraced sleek digital alternatives. By the 1980s, adding machines had disappeared entirely, relegated to dusty, memory-filled storerooms or museums. Today, they remain nostalgic relics of an era when every sum required both muscle and math. Remember the nail-biting suspense of tapping the 7 key 4 times just to type an S? Though T9 was born in the late 90s, It truly ruled the texting world in the 2000s, helping us fly through those clunky 3x4 keypads, even if it turned half our messages into complete gibberish.
When you want to text someone, you could text whole paragraphs. Back in our day, we used a thing called T9 texting. A flip phone would only have 9 buttons. Each button would have 3 letters.
A quick message could turn into an accidental "duck you," or "we're meeting at 5," morphing into "we're meet in hive." Despite the constant battles with autocorrect light, we still managed to churn out texts at record speed, proving that nothing could stop our urge to stay connected. Thankfully, today's smartphones have full QWERTY screens and predictive text that actually makes sense, so we can send messages without performing a keypad dance. But back in the early 1960s, a new diet drink called Metricol hit the shelves, and people went crazy for it at first. The idea was simple. Just mix the powder with water, drink it instead of eating real meals, and boom, you'd lose weight. Sounds easy, right? But here's the twist. The stuff tasted awful, like really bad. Imagine drinking a glass of bland, chalky milk that somehow made you hungrier. Most folks couldn't get past the first few sips without gagging, and even those who stuck with it found themselves still starving.
Metricol was developed to help you lose weight and avoid regaining it. And now, Metricol is available in new liquid form, ready to drink.
People got so desperate that they started adding booze, yes, actual liquor, to the drink just to choke it down. Metricol went from miracle diet drink to joke of the decade real fast. In the end, it gave one big lesson. No matter how good the marketing is, taste still matters. But when it's not your taste buds being let down, what happens when it's your ears? When standalone DVD recorders rolled into stores around 1999, they promised to be the next VCR, except sleeker and digital. Consumers imagined effortlessly burning home videos or favorite TV shows straight to shiny discs. In reality, menus were clunky, setups confusing, and burn times painfully long. Before these machines could catch on, cable and satellite DVRs, and the rise of TiVo, swooped in with faster, simpler recording options.
There are other DVRs today that can record unlimited programs. Make sure that the TV service provider that you choose has the best technology and the latest equipment.
Meanwhile, computer DVD burners gave tech enthusiasts more control and customization. By the mid-2000s, the living room DVD recorder had become an afterthought in America, relegated to bargain bins. Sinclair, Radionics, thought they'd invented something game-changing, the world's first pocket-sized FM radio. Released in 1965 as the Micro FM, it was tiny but plagued by technical glitches, weak reception, and erratic performance. The design looked sleek and futuristic, but the functionality just wasn't there. Early adopters quickly realized that style couldn't make up for spotty sound. Users were frustrated by poor tuning and limited battery life. Although illegal clones popped up overseas, the actual product never took off commercially. Sinclair tried again with the Micromatic, billed as the world's smallest radio in 1967, but the FM pocket tuner had already made its mark as one of the defining gadget failures of that era. But Sinclair wasn't alone. Another bold design soon followed, with even bigger dreams and an even harder fall. When Cable Card debuted in 2004, it promised a world without clunky cable boxes. Just slide a card into your TV or PC for instant access to premium channels. The concept thrilled early adopters who dreamed of sleek, all-in-one entertainment hubs.
Anything that I have in the house with a screen that includes TVs and computers and phones can get access to that cable subscription, and I don't have to pay Comcast a dime to do it.
However, the reality was more complex. Compatibility varied significantly across brands, and setup required intricate interactions with cable providers. Viewers faced limited DVR support, and monthly authorization resets left households without TV on busy nights. Industry stalling and minimal marketing doomed Cable Card before mainstream users caught on. Even a promised 2.0 upgrade failed to resolve core issues. While successor technologies like True Two-Way and All Vid have taken their shots, cable card remains a footnote in cable history. Let's take a trip back to the mid-1960s, when a Canadian company called Clairtone decided to shoot for the stars with its fancy new GTV color television. This wasn't your average boxy TV. It was sleek, stylish, and looked like something straight out of a futuristic movie. Clairtone believed they were about to change the game. But here's the problem. The world just wasn't ready.
Function, remote control, color television. So beautiful, it enhances any decor.
Back then, color TVs were still super pricey and not many people had them in their homes. So while the GTV looked amazing, most folks simply couldn't afford it. To make things worse, Clairtone poured a ton of money into advertising and made some big mistakes in production. By 1967, they were down over $6 million. Ouch! What started as a bold, beautiful idea turned into a financial disaster. In 1999, Sony introduced Aibo, a pint-sized robotic puppy with a wagging tail, expressive eyes, and a playful AI personality. It could recognize faces, learn new tricks, and respond to touch. An adorable companion for tech fans.
You'll see this kind of pet robot is staying at the home. Not only one, but the 2, 3, 4, 5 robots will be moving in each home.
But at roughly $2,500, Aibo was a luxury toy few could afford, and its battery life and unpredictability sometimes left owners frustrated. As the market shifted and development costs soared, Sony discontinued the original Aibo line in 2006. Collectors mourned the loss, while a few dedicated fans hacked their Aibos to extend their lifespans. Today, Sony has revived Aibo with a pricier model, but the charm of that first robotic dog, fuzzy memories programmed into hardware, remains a testament to an idea that was ahead of its time. Imagine watching a movie and smelling the on-screen scene: grass, fresh rain, or coffee, or so advertisers promised. Smell-O-Vision debuted in the 1960s film Scent of Mystery, but it flopped fast. Scent dispensers hissed, odors arrived out of sync, sometimes seconds late.
Sony is introducing Smell-O-Vision at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas this week. The goal is to make gaming as immersive.
And theaters smelled weird afterward. The technology was distracting, inconsistent, and frankly, kind of gross. Audiences laughed the first time, but it never caught on. Smell-O-Vision was shelved and left in the dust. Smell-O-Vision tried to change how we watched movies. Next came a device that tried to change how we read them. In October 2000, 3Com debuted the Ergo Audrey, an internet appliance named after Audrey Hepburn, featuring a touchscreen display, an email client, audio/video playback, and Palm OS syncing.
Key component of datatricity for the nerve center of the modern home is here. It's Audrey from 3Com, the first member of the Ergo family.
It promised to be the first in a line of smart home devices, a gateway to effortless online living. Instead, it stumbled over high price tags, limited functionality, and the dot-com crash. By June 2001, the Audrey was discontinued, leaving behind a handful of curious units gathering dust. While the idea of a dedicated internet terminal in every home made sense on paper, the technology and market were not yet ready. Still, Audrey laid the groundwork for future devices like tablets and smart displays that would finally nail the concept. Before mobile app stores and console exclusives, Windows Minesweeper reigned as the default time killer.
Minesweeper. How to play. The object of the game is to uncover the map without clicking on any mines. Open a new game, then left-click randomly.
One wrong click detonated pixelated mines in cheerful explosions, turning logic puzzles into tiny victories and occasional frustrations. Rainy afternoons at school computer labs, living rooms, and cubicles became battlegrounds of deduction and blind guesses. The thrill of clearing a grid, chasing faster times, and mastering patterns transformed a simple utility into an unexpected obsession. Yet, despite free availability and timeless gameplay, Minesweeper never evolved beyond its basic interface. Graphics stayed static, levels remained uniform, and features stayed minimal. Today, it lives on through phone ports and browser clones. But in a gaming world of flashy visuals and microtransactions, its humble grid feels like a delightful throwback. Back in 1963, someone came up with a gadget called the Read-O-Matic, and on paper, it sounded like a genius idea, especially for people who struggled with reading. The device was supposed to make things easier by using a little mechanical arm to point out one line of text at a time, helping readers stay focused. But the reality? Not so great. This thing wasn't quiet. It made an annoying scraping sound every time it moved. Like nails on a chalkboard. Instead of helping people concentrate, it became a noisy distraction. And let's not forget the price tag. It cost way more than it should have for something you could replicate with a simple ruler and a little patience. People quickly lost interest, especially when better, quieter, and cheaper tools came along. Long before slates became household staples, Microsoft and partners launched the tablet PC in 2001. These clamshell laptops featured stylus-driven touchscreens and allowed users to chart handwritten notes in real time. In classrooms and boardrooms, enthusiasts appreciated the novelty.
Classes to go to, exams to cram for, all that stuff to carry around. So simplified with a tablet PC.
Yet the devices were heavy, had short battery life, and ran Windows XP Tablet Edition with some difficulty. Mainstream users found typing on physical keyboards and navigating with a mouse to be far more efficient. Consequently, tablet PCs remained a niche for years. It wasn't until Apple's 2010 iPad, lightweight, intuitive, and app-driven, that the tablet form factor truly took off. In retrospect, the original tablet PC was a crucial stepping stone, showing both the promise and pitfalls of pen-centric computing. In 2003, Tapwave unveiled the Zodiac, a handheld meant to blend gaming and PDA functionality. Running on a tweaked Palm OS, it boasted vibrant graphics, multimedia playback, and a niche library of exclusive titles.
When I want to listen to my music, manage my life, and to game. To game! I'm talking 3D graphics, full motion video, analog controller.
Reviewers praised its sleek design and raw power, but the ecosystem behind it was brittle. Major game studios balked at support, leaving the store stocked with only a handful of games. Meanwhile, Sony's PlayStation Portable boasted a stronger brand, deeper pockets, and a marketing blitz that overshadowed Zodiac's niche appeal. Financial strains forced Tapwave to shutter operations in 2005, cutting off firmware updates and distribution. Today, the Zodiac survives as a collector's oddity, an ambitious device felled by competition and lack of developer backing. The Amphicar launched in the early 60s as a car that could drive into the water and float. Cool, right? But in reality, it was slow on land and painfully slow in water. It also leaked. Steering it on water was awkward, and getting in or out at boat ramps often turned into a public spectacle. Maintenance was a nightmare, especially with all the extra waterproofing needed to keep it from sinking.
It's floating! It's floating! Krista.
Owners had to grease over a dozen points after every swim just to keep it running. And despite the novelty, it wasn't exactly cheap. Buyers discovered it was neither a great car nor a real boat, just a gimmick. Only around 4,000 were ever built, and the novelty wore off fast. Fun to look at, but awful to live with. If a car that swims couldn't quite make waves, what happens when someone tries to fly instead? At the turn of the millennium, customizing your phone with a unique ringtone became a badge of honor. Investing roughly $2.50 to download the latest hit, or setting up the radio to record a snippet, felt like a small price for style. Those distinctive chirps, pings, and catchy hooks announced one's arrival at crowded hallways, buzzing offices, and packed dorm rooms. But as smartphones exploded into daily life and notifications multiplied, silence reigned supreme. Who wants an orchestra of alerts during back-to-back meetings or family dinners? Meanwhile, streaming services unlocked every track at your fingertips, making paid snippets redundant. Today, default rings sit quietly in silent mode, and the novelty of a custom melody has faded. But that's just the beginning. Wait until you hear about the next gadget, which promised portable storage greatness before disappearing without a trace. When Nokia merged phone and gaming ambitions in 2003, the N-Gage seemed poised to rewrite both rulebooks. Instead, its sideways calling method earned it the nickname Taco Phone, and gamers grumbled over awkward button layouts that made epic quests feel less immersive.
The N-Gage is the hottest new item on the market for gamers. It's a gaming deck, a cell phone, MP3 player, AM/FM stereo.
Swapping game cartridges meant removing the back cover and battery, a fiddly ritual that killed the thrill before the first boss fight. Battery life tanked under heavy play, and reception issues turned multiplayer duels into ghost towns. Still, the N-Gage boasted a spirited library that included exclusive titles and early online play.
N-Gage is a totally new way to game. It takes gaming to an entirely new level. It's wireless, multiplayer, online, unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Retailers couldn't stock units fast enough, but consumers stayed away. Despite a redesign in 2004, Nokia was unable to shake the stigma. And while fans cherished a few hidden gems, the gadget's journey was far from over. Imagine it's the 1960s, and President John F. Kennedy is standing there, watching a man literally fly through the air using a jetpack. It looked like something straight out of the Jetsons. Futuristic, exciting, and totally mind-blowing. People were sure this was the beginning of a flying future. The Bell rocket belt had arrived, and it promised to let humans zip around like superheroes. But reality hit fast. The thing could only stay in the air for about 20 seconds, just long enough to travel around 400 feet. And when it came time to land, let's just say it wasn't exactly smooth. It was bumpy, risky, and way too dangerous for everyday use. Plus, it cost a fortune to build and fuel. So, while the idea made headlines and got people dreaming, it turned out to be more show than substance. Sony's Micro MV launched in 2001, promising the world's smallest video cassette for camcorders.
Mini DV was extremely popular, but Sony were thinking about making something even smaller. So they came up with Micro MV, they shrunk the tape size.
Roughly half the size of mini DV tapes, Micro MV packed only 60 minutes of MPEG-2 video. Its tiny footprint allowed designers to shrink camcorders to unheard-of proportions until users saw the footage. Grainy images, frequent glitches, and compression artifacts plagued recordings. Additionally, Micro MV equipment carried premium price tags, making affordable mini DV and emerging hard drive recorders appear to be better bets. As flash-based and HDD camcorders rolled out mid-decade, offering superior quality, longer recording times, and easier file transfers, Micro MV quickly joined the obsolete ranks. Sony released the last Micro MV camcorder in 2006, then quietly retired the format. Today, tracking down working Micro MV decks is a niche hobby, proof that smaller isn't always better when image quality suffers. Back in the 1960s, Chevrolet thought they had come up with a genius idea to help drivers deal with icy roads. Instead of going through the hassle of putting on traditional metal snow chains, they introduced something called the liquid tire chain. The idea was simple. Just press a button, and your car would spray a chemical onto the rear tires that supposedly gave you better grip on ice. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, not exactly. In reality, it barely made a difference when the roads got really slick. The spray left behind a weird, sticky mess, and in some cases, it even messed up the car's paint job. Drivers complained it was more trouble than it was worth. Plus, it didn't last long. Just a few spins of the wheels, and it was gone. Before long, people went back to using traditional chains or switched to better winter tires. At the 2003 CES, Microsoft unveiled Spot smartwatches, promising news, weather, and stock updates delivered directly to your wrist via FM radio signals. These chunky timepieces boasted customizable watch faces and MSN direct services, with partners like Fossil and Suunto driving sleek prototypes. Imagine checking headlines without pulling out a phone, an idea ahead of its time.
And that is by pointing it at a CRT monitor on your PC running Windows 3.1, and it synchronizes just by looking at your display.
Yet, reception was patchy, draining batteries faster than users expected. Monthly subscription fees for MSN Direct added up, and developers struggled with limited memory and coarse monochrome screens. Even bundling a basic version free failed to win over consumers glued to emerging smartphones. By 2008, Microsoft quietly discontinued Spot, leaving a handful of dedicated fans tinkering with hardware hacks. Before you tally its legacy, brace for a daring effort that attempted to eliminate the cable box. British motorcycle maker Velocette attempted to launch the Vogue scooter with a full fiberglass touring body. Production ran from around 1960 to 1965, but poor performance, high cost, and sluggish sales doomed it. The fiberglass design was ahead of its time, but it made the scooter heavy and hard to handle. Riders also complained about awkward ergonomics and a lack of power, especially compared to cheaper competitors. Despite its sleek, futuristic look,
immediately behind the mudguard, at the bottom, there is a black section covering the end of the...
It simply didn't deliver a good riding experience. Only a few hundred sold over 5 years. The project drained the company's capital and set it on the path to closure by 1971. It became a lesson in overambition meeting underwhelming execution. The Vogue flopped in motion. Next came a system that failed before it even moved. Before streaming took over, Netflix DVDs rewrote movie rentals with its mail-order service. Red envelopes tumbled into mailboxes like Christmas morning. No late fees, no store runs, just home delivery. Subscribers curated queues of blockbusters, indies, and cult classics, praying their top picks didn't carry a very long wait. For a generation, the system felt miraculous. Physical disc access to virtually any film without setting foot outside. But as high-speed streaming rose in popularity, disc rentals transformed into a niche perk.
How does streaming compare with the good old-fashioned DVD?
Streaming is convenient, but there's a huge trade-off in quality. With a basic Netflix subscription, movies you watch are not in high definition.
Although Netflix still ships DVDs, its once expansive catalog has dwindled, confined to select titles and loyal subscribers. The romance of holding a flick, browsing inserts, and tearing open that red envelope has given way to instant clicks, proof that even groundbreaking services evolve or fade. Back in the late 1960s, a company called Computer Applications Inc., CAI, thought they were onto something huge. They had this bold idea for a computer system named SpeedAta, a high-tech tool that was supposed to totally change how warehouses worked. It was meant to be faster, smarter, and way more efficient than anything else out there. They poured in over $10 million to get it off the ground. Dreaming it would be the future of logistics and inventory management. But here's the thing, the customers just didn't show up. The demand they were counting on never really happened, and CAI hit a financial wall. They still needed another $5 million to finish it all up, but no one was willing to throw more money into the project. By April 1970, they pulled the plug. The company fell apart soon after.